Welcome to our end of week news bulletin. I am Sergeant Doreen Kerubo. The Kdf Weekly Bulletin is a show to keep you updated on events undertaken by the Ministry of Defense over the week. In today's bulletin, His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, has promoted and appointed General Ogola as Chief of Defense Forces. Home at last. First group of evacuees from Sudan arrive in Kenya. CS Defense affirms Kenya's commitment to peace and security in the region. ICRAF achieves significant milestone in Eastern DRC. And Kenya Defense Forces troops construct a 90,000-litre underground water tank for locals in Burgabo, Somalia. His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, pursuant to Section 9, Subsection 2 of the Kenya Defense Forces Act, the President and Article 131, Section 2, Subsection A and B of the Constitution, has today promoted Lieutenant General Francis Omondi Ogola to the rank of General and appointed him Chief of the Defense Forces. Prior to this appointment, General Francis Omondi Ogola was the Vice Chief of the Defense Forces. General Francis Omondi Ogola replaces General Robert Kariuki Kibochi, whose term of service has honorably come to an end after 44 years of illustrious military career. The President has also appointed Lieutenant General Jonah Mwangi as the Vice Chief of the Defense Forces. Prior to this appointment, Lieutenant General Jonah Mwangi was the Vice Chancellor, National Defense University, Kenya. Major General Said Farah takes over from Lieutenant General Jonah Mwangi as the Vice Chancellor, National Defense University, Kenya. Further, on the advice of the Defense Council, chaired by Honorable Aden Duale, Cabinet Secretary for Defense, the President upheld the Defense Council's recommendation and made various promotions, postings and appointments of KDF officers. Honorable Aden Duale, Cabinet Secretary for Defense, received the first group of people to be evacuated from the Republic of Sudan following days of unrest. The evacuated people, who included mostly Kenyan university students and others from our allied states, namely the Federal Republic of Somalia and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, arrived at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport aboard a Kenya Air Force flight. Take a look.
Speaking at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport when he received the evacuees, Honorable Duale lauded them for their bravery and resilience in undertaking a long journey from Khartoum to Palawich Airport in South Sudan, from where they were airlifted. He further commended the multi-agency team formed to facilitate the evacuation process, saying the government is committed to ensuring the safe return of all Kenyan citizens in Sudan who wish to come back home.
Let's all pray for the situation in Sudan to be back to normal. And this multi-agency team of government will make sure that aircrafts and all logistics are available to evacuate all Kenyans. There are over 3,000 Kenyans holed up in Sudan. And so far we have mapped out 900 Kenyans in various parts of Khartoum and Sudan as a whole.
He further urged all Kenyans stranded in Sudan and their families in Kenya to continue registering with the State Department for Diaspora Affairs for logistical support. Honorable Duale was accompanied by senior officials from various government ministries, including the Ministry of Defense, State Department for Diaspora Affairs, Ministry of Interior and Administration, as well as the Kenya Red Cross Society, among others.
I'd like to thank the Kenyan government and the Kenyan Air Force for facilitating our journey from Juba, from Palawich to Nairobi. We really thank you. Thank you so much.
Honorable Aden Duale, the Cabinet Secretary for Defense, has affirmed the commitment of the Kenyan government to support efforts aimed at realizing the goals and objectives of peace efforts in the region. The CS maintained that Kenya remains steadfast to support the mandate of the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia by virtue of being one of the 5 troop contributing countries to defeat the terrorism posed by Al-Shabaab terrorists.
Honorable Duale made the remarks in Kampala, Uganda, during a 4-day extraordinary summit for defense ministers from the troops contributing countries to African Union Transition Mission in Somalia. The CS noted that terrorism and violent extremism remain a common and major security threat in the region and called for joint efforts to combat the threat.
Kenya recognizes that peace, security, and strong political relations are critical factors in creating a conducive environment for regional cooperation and integration.
The CS Defense further noted that the security situation in Africa Union Transition Mission in Somalia remains fragile, with Al-Shabaab and the enduring threat to security, stability of the region, and the international community, of which Kenya's geopolitical position is a vital nerve center. He maintained that first-generation efforts for the Somali security forces is work in progress to enable them take over security responsibilities once the anticipated gradual drawdown of troops from Africa Union Transition Mission in Somalia takes effect in December 2024.
In other news, senior commanders from across the Kenya Defence Forces services converged at the Humanitarian Peace Support School in Embakasi to brainstorm on their roles in disease prevention in their areas of jurisdiction. Under the theme, Commander's Role in Disease Prevention, the team converged and deliberated on quality health promotions and disease prevention. These, they discussed, can be achieved through population-based interventions, including radical action plans to address social determinants and health inequity, to bridge the burden of disease and associated risks within the force. Take a look.
During his opening speech, Major General Juma Munyikai, General Officer commanding Eastern Command, observed that the current emerging and re-emerging diseases have threatened economies, health and securities of countries. He therefore emphasized on the need for the commanders at all levels to be bequeathed with knowledge, expertise and competences to handle such diseases as they discharge their duties.
I think it's time for all of us, because command is dynamic. Things change. There could be new challenges, but then we have to take responsibility and we have to take lead.
Major General Dr. George Nganga, the Director Medical Services, while presiding over the closing ceremony of the Senior Commanders Seminar, noted that the commanders have significant roles in the fight against communicable and non-communicable diseases within their services, and urged them to fight the vices, pandemics and other emerging diseases in their units, bases and formations.
The stigma is still a lot, and it's been really needed to address. And this cannot be addressed by the commanding officers. And that's where you are, when you are here.
The two-day seminar was aimed at putting forward resolutions and workable perimeters in dealing with emerging vices in the Kenya Defence Forces.
Moving on to education matters, Lieutenant General Mwangi, the Vice-Chancellor, National Defence University, Kenya, hosted the Zambia Air Force Center for Advanced Learning delegation in a benchmarking forum held at the International Peace Support Training Center in Karen, Nairobi. The day-long discussions provided a platform for sharing common ideas geared towards a deeper understanding of each institution's capabilities, operations, and strategic goals that enable successful proffering of actionable solutions to contemporary security challenges. It also offered the delegation an opportunity to trade ideas in strengthening partnership in education and research in defense and security sector.
Lieutenant General Mwangi, in his address, acknowledged the long-standing cordial relationship between the Kenya Defence Forces and the Zambia National Defence Forces, which has enabled continued exchange of students between the two entities at various levels. The Vice-Chancellor also noted that the rapidly morphing global and national security dynamics have necessitated the re-engineering of professional military education and training to facilitate the corresponding capabilities and capacities. The head of Zambia's delegation, Brigadier General Malama Bwalia, reiterated the importance of working together with NDUK on education and security programs, and affirmed his intended continuous partnership with KDF in research, faculty exchange, technical capabilities, and program development that will generate patriotic, passionate, and responsible servant leaders.
Moving on, Major General Frederick Reuria, Assistant Chief of Defense Forces in charge of operations, planning, doctrine and training on behalf of Chief of Defense Forces, General Robert Kibochi, jointly with the Chinese Ambassador to Kenya, Mr. Zhou Pinjian, officially inaugurated the teaching of Mandarin Chinese language at the Defense Forces School of Education and Languages in Lang'ata Barracks here in Nairobi. Here is more.
Major General Frederick Reuria, in his address, acknowledged the efforts and role of the Chinese Embassy in partnering with KDF to pioneer the first Mandarin Chinese language in the military. He urged the students to seize the opportunity at hand, as language is a tool that connects us to the world and is the means through which people learn about each other and exchange ideas.
I challenge you now to dedicate yourselves fully towards achieving the prerequisite attitudes, skills, and knowledge to attain the desired end state of proficiency and competency in the Mandarin Chinese language.
He further pointed out that through the Mandarin language, Kenya is able to foster good relations with the world as it opens the door to frontier languages, as well as deepening the complementary relations in trade, education, defense, and culture between Kenya and China. During his speech, Chinese Ambassador to Kenya acknowledged the 60 years of cordial relationship between Kenya and China in strategic, comprehensive cooperation on military, education, and trade.
I'm so impressed by the significant progress you've already made in this journey of learning Chinese language.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Moving on, the Kenya Naval Training College received a fully equipped computer laboratory comprising of 24 computers, 32 computer seats and desks from the Danish government with the aim of providing online maritime courses to the Kenya Navy sailors. In his address during the handover ceremony, the Deputy Commander Kenya Navy Base Mtongwe, Colonel Evans Oguga, appreciated the cooperation and partnership that exists between the Kenyan government and the Danish government, noting that computers have transformed the way we live, work and communicate, and the importance of computer skills cannot be underestimated, especially in the field of naval operation. Here is more.
The Commandant Kenya Naval Training College, Colonel Eliud Keter, noted that the fully equipped laboratory will boost maritime training at the institution and will continue strengthening partnership in maritime training and education. The Danish Defense Attaché, Colonel Jens Lindvig, emphasized that the long partnership between the Kenyan and Danish government will ensure Kenya Navy receives efficient facilities in order to have effective and reliable personnel to foster maritime security.
Over 132 service members graduated at the Recruits Training School in Eldoret after successfully completing a 6 weeks rigorous training in drill and duties at a ceremony presided over by the school's commandant, Brigadier Joel Arimi. The graduates, drawn from the 3 services, the Kenya Army, Kenya Air Force, and Kenya Navy, underwent intense training to nurture their character, command, and leadership skills to prepare them for the mid-level military command. In his address, the commandant congratulated the graduates for their endurance and resilience throughout the training period and implored them to put into practice the skills they have acquired for the benefit of those under their command. Elsewhere, hazardous materials advanced course students from the Kenya Defense Forces Disaster Response Battalion graduated with a course in leadership and character development from Kenya School of Adventure and Leadership in Mount Kenya. The 12-day course provided the participant an opportunity to be sharpened with the relevant skills on areas pertaining to team building, critical thinking, time management, campcraft environmental awareness, solo day and night experience. The training culminated in a climbing assault of Mount Kenya up to Lenana Peak at 4,985 meters above sea level. Moving on, Brigadier Yaya Abdi, the Commander Kenya Navy Base Mtongwe, presided over the opening ceremony of Senior Leadership Course at 15 Kenya Rifles, Mariakani in Kilifi County. In his speech, Brigadier Abdi noted that the course is a career-defining training that will have a direct bearing on the participants' career progression. He encouraged the participants to aim at continuously improving themselves by gaining knowledge, not only to improve the quality of the output in workplaces, but to also enable them to provide quality mentorship to their subordinates. Colonel Eliud Keter, the Commandant, Kenya Naval Training College, in his address, stated that the course will shape the participants' future social and professional life aspect in retrospect to the competencies gained. Senior Leadership Course aims to equip participants with knowledge and skills in leadership, command and management necessary to meet challenges they face in their various areas of deployment in the Kenya Navy or the Kenya Defence Forces at large. Moving on, service personnel from Moi Air Base, led by Commanding Officer Headquarter Wing Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Kahindi, in partnership with the Kenya Space Agency, participated in a tree planting exercise at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology in Kiambu County. The team was received by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic Affairs, Mr. Robert Kenywa, who stressed on the importance of planting trees to both humans and the whole biodiversity, and that the institution was working on achieving the President's mission of planting 15 billion new trees by the year 2032. He further thanked Kenya Defence Forces for providing 3,000 tree seedlings. Elsewhere, Kenya Army personnel from the 3rd Kenya Rifles Battalion, in conjunction with the Kenya Forest Service and the local community at Kabatini in Bahati Sub-County, Nakuru, planted over 6,000 seedlings of indigenous species including cypress and moringa and podo. The local community expressed their appreciation to the Kenya Defence Forces and the Kenya Forest Service for their continued efforts towards actualizing environmental security through tree planting exercises, and they pledged to take care of the planted trees in order to ensure their survival to maturity. During the exercise, over 6,000 tree seedlings of various indigenous species were planted. Further afield, Kenya Defence Forces troops under Operation Amani Boni partnered with the local authorities to offer medical services to the residents of Hulugo in Garissa County. Over 500 locals received curative and preventative healthcare services for ailments such as chest pains, cold, sinus infection, sore throat, among others. The elderly, women and children were the major beneficiaries of the free medical service in an exercise that was led by Ijara Member of Parliament, Honorable Abdi Ali Abdi.
During his address to the troops and locals, Honorable Abdi affirmed that the Kenya Defence Forces troops' zeal and dedication to serve the vulnerable in the society is a true form of humanity that should be emulated across the country. The MP further urged the troops to keep up the same spirit in serving the less fortunate in the society and encouraged the residents to cooperate with the security agencies in order to enhance service delivery. The exercise was aimed at reaching out to those with inadequate access to specialized medical treatment. Elsewhere, Kenya Defence Forces personnel stationed at Sangailu Forward Operating Base, led by Major Julius Ngolesia, undertook various civil-military cooperation activities to residents of Koran Hindi village in Garissa County affected by drought. The soldiers, in collaboration with Ijara Member of Parliament Honorable Ali Badi, distributed clean water and assorted foodstuffs. The KDF soldiers further met area security teams at Sangailu Police Station with an aim of beefing up security in the area.
Brigadier Peter Githinji, the Deputy Commander, Kenya Air Force, accompanied by Defence Forces Canteen Organization Managing Director, Brigadier Albert Nderi, presided over the commissioning of 9 new vehicles for Defence Forces Canteen Organization at Moi Air Base here in Nairobi. Defence Forces Canteen Organization received 2 trucks, 2 vans and 5 saloon cars, which will aid the organization achieve its mission, which is to provide quality, efficient welfare services to the Kenya Defence Forces fraternity and support their corporate social responsibility activities.
Speaking during the event, Brigadier Kethenji emphasized on the importance of growth to the organization, noting that Defense Forces Canteen organization has experienced enormous growth in both communication, technology, and infrastructure. Brigadier Nderi, the Managing Director, Defense Forces Canteen Organization, noted that they were happy and proud of the achievement and efficient transport imprudent in every business.
Military Wives Association of Kenya chairperson Mrs. Tabitha Kibochi joined Kenya Defense Forces Chaplaincy Fraternity during the closing ceremony of Family Resiliency Engagement organized by the Kenya Defense Forces Chaplaincy in partnership with the Massachusetts National Guard from USA. The three-day engagement, held at Little Daughters of St. Joseph in Karen, Nairobi, provided a platform for the two institutions to deliberate and develop a raft of programs to promote strong family bonds within the Kenya Defense Forces. The programs will help the families of service personnel address impacts of long periods of deployment and combat-related stress. Speaking at the event, Military Wives Association of Kenya chairperson underscored the importance of family to Kenya Defense Forces personnel, noting that a soldier can only perform best when his or her family is at peace.
With your fingers.
Moving on, the deployment and current posture of the East African Community Regional Force has registered significant milestones in North Kivu, having achieved full deployment in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Major General Jeff Nyaga, the East Africa Community Regional Force commander, while addressing journalists from local and international media houses at the force headquarters in Goma, said the ongoing peace and stability efforts in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo have seen holding of ceasefire among aspiring parties for over 1 month. He also added that significant withdrawal of M23 from areas of Karuba and Mushaki, proximal to Sake and Ninero, Kirolirwe, Kibirizi, Kichanga, Rutushuru, Bunagana, Rumagambo and Kibumba has been registered. Here is more.
The force commander said that the full deployment of troops to the multinational sector in Masisi and Rutshuru territories in North Kivu has enhanced the protection of civilians and created necessary conditions for the reopening of Kichanga, Kirolirwe, Sake, Goma, and Bungana, Rutshuru, Rumagambo, Goma main supply routes. This has enabled free movement of people and goods. He further noted that East Africa Community Regional Force is collaborating with state and non-state actors in various areas including information intelligence, sharing and surveillance, demarcation and delineation.
United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo troops and the National Congolese Army jointly conducted a series of robust operations in Apetina Sana Forest, a refuge of the armed group Allied Democratic Forces. The operation, dubbed Nirmul or Destruction in Nepali, mobilized 3 companies of peacekeepers from United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, as well as special units from the Quick Reaction Forces of Kenya, Nepal, Tanzania, and South Africa.
The operation, which took place in the thick forest 50 kilometers from the city of Beni in North Kivu of Apetina, had the objective of neutralizing and destroying the Allied Democratic Forces elements and reducing the number of human rights abuses against civilians. The operation made it possible to restore the authority of the state in the area and facilitated the return of locals to their homes, which they had abandoned because of the resurgence of attacks.
The Deputy Commander, African Union Transition Mission in Somalia Sector 2, Colonel Saif Aidan, presided over the closing ceremony of the Tactical Combat Casualty Care Course at Level 2 Hospital Sector 2 headquarters in Doble, Somalia. Speaking during the closing ceremony, the Deputy Commander expressed his confidence that the training had equipped the participants with the necessary knowledge and skills to handle combat and non-combat emergencies, both at the battlefield and in everyday life. Take a look.
Colonel Saif noted that the joint training provided an opportunity for capacity building for the Somali security forces, which is part of the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia mandate. He also noted that joint training would enhance the integration of skills between the Somali security forces and the friendly forces. According to the senior medical officer, Major Dr. Stanley Nganga, 90% of combat casualty victims die before reaching the hospital due to massive bleeding or breathing complications. He highlighted that this was the main focus of the course, a critical training in saving the lives of injured soldiers during combat.
Major Jeremiah Namasake led Kenya Defence Forces troops under the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, stationed at the Burgabo Forward Operation Base in constructing a 90,000-litre underground water tank for the Burgabo locals. This was meant to trap rainwater and alleviate the shortage of fresh water in the area. The local community had been grappling with a severe water shortage, and construction of the water tank was a welcome relief for the locals. KDF troops urged the community who expressed gratitude for the gesture to form a committee to effectively manage the newly constructed water tank. The troops also donated food items which included essentials such as rice, sugar, wheat flour, cooking oil, tomato paste, spaghetti, tea leaves, salt, biscuits, and assorted juice for children to celebrate Eid ul-Fitr. Thank you for watching. We look forward to your feedback via our official social media handles and your viewership next Friday for the KDF Weekly Bulletin. I am Sergeant Doreen Kerubu. Goodbye.